Hi. This morning I'm going to be speaking to my colleague and co-editor of the Decentralising Political Economies platform, Alessandra Saviotti, who's going to be developing a symposium for us on behalf of the dpe.tools project and website, which is a project in partnership with the City Lab at John Moores University School of Art and Design, the Whitworth Art Gallery, and the Association of Art at Útil. Alessandra, it's just great that you've been developing this project. And after about a year of the platform being developed and thinking together with various people about the kinds of ways in which we move the idea of useful art and the constituent and useful museum forward, um, it'd be really interesting to find out what is this symposium about? What's your overall plans for it? What does it look like? What's its shape and form?
Sure. Well, thank you, John, for this conversation, for taking the time for this conversation. It has been really exciting to think about that we are already 1 year into this process. And it's quite, like interesting to see how things are developing and taking shape. And I think that the idea of the symposium comes from, the research that we have been doing around making artistic and curatorial research public, which is also something that has been discussed, for example, already together with Poppy Bowers in one of the conversations that we have in the blog. And so I would say that the idea of this symposium is to use it as a sort of toolkit in and of itself, right? So there is also like the idea of repurposing a little bit the idea of the symposium. So while we started conceiving the platform and DPE as a platform or channel as a way to really, like foster usership, but also as a testing ground to infiltrate, like different contexts, museum and galleries, university, etc. Also, the symposium is an excuse actually to activate the platform, but also to be really active in this research for, let's say, hacking and infiltrating and repurposing the tools that we have. So as you were mentioning, it's coming after 1 year from the launch of DP tools. So I think it would be also a way to, like put forward other topics that we would like to discuss next year, 2022. And beyond 2022, hopefully we will be working around these topics and key questions also beyond the DP. I would say that in terms of the structure of the symposium, I tried to think about it as a way also to resist a little bit the logic of the single event or the traditional academic conference, for example. So I think we were all working around organizing the sessions during over a month's time, with panel discussions and workshops happening mainly online. But we will see, because perhaps one of the workshops is gonna also happen in real life according to the availability of the space of the museum and or the guests. So guests are going to send the pre-recorded presentations that we are going to analyze and discuss during live sessions with the attendees. And of course, this means a little bit more work for us, but also for the guests. But also it means that between the sessions, we will have some time to reflect upon what has been presented and discussed. And hopefully to write a sort of report, or like, I don't know, manifesto, or like some principles that we would like to investigate more. And hopefully in 5 year times, whoever will approach DPE would have a series of materials open to different kind of usership. And the idea is that, or let's say the hope is that the symposium becomes also a toolkit in itself. So it would be like a sort of excuse to really zoom out and zoom in at the same time, about different topics that we have been discussing.
Okay, I think it's really interesting that the way that you've gone about developing this symposium is to try in this allegedly post-COVID era to, to to learn some of the lessons that we've been taught, and also to kind of begin to move away from those really intense and quite hectic um, um, moments that symposium and conference often are in academia, and to kind of spread out something that become an ongoing discussion and discourse um, over several weeks. Um, Having said that, could you then explain to us a little bit more how that mechanism will work, and what might happen each week and in between those weeks?
Yeah, sure. So, like there are, let's say that all the conference, all the symposium is organized around the different panels and different topics. And there are some keywords that have been floating around possible tags, let's say, for the sessions, which are, for example, usership, toolkits, economy, speculation, but we also have dreams, imagination, praxis, hacking, market, and all these tags, let's say, functions really has point of connections between the different panel discussion, but also the different workshops. So we are going to start the 19th of October with a workshop, because of course also one of the main topic on the research strand is about usership, and we are going to discuss Arte Útil principles, but also we invited artists and practitioners which are also part of the Arte Útil archive, for example. So like the decision to start with a workshop is actually to make let's say the point that we really want to learn by doing project, or by put our, let's say, body, even if it's in this virtual environment, first. So we're going to start the 19th of October with a workshop, and for that we invited Daniel Godinez-Nivon, who is an artist based in Mexico City, who is going to introduce us to how to use dreams for social and political change. So I think it's going to be super, like interesting and fascinating to have this session with him. And then we're going to have another workshop the same week, but on the 21st of October, together with me and my colleague Gemma Medina, and we are going to analyze the coefficient of art, or if it's possible to give a coefficient of art to actually our practices. And then we are going to have a panel the same day in the afternoon with Gabriela Sanger Silva, moderated by myself, Daniel Godinez-Nivon, and Lisa Heinis. And with them, we are going to analyze their practice between art education and the museums. So again, and in this case, we are going to talk about more the idea of toolkit, or like the art project as toolkits, art project as manuals. So I think that is going to also be interesting in terms of how do we frame like a more educational approach to this kind of practices. And then we are going to have a break for a couple of weeks, and we are going to convene again the 5th of November with a workshop in the morning together with Owen Griffith, artist Owen Griffith, who has been part of the dpe platform since the very beginning, together with Joe Marsh and T. Pope. And with them, we're going to analyze a little bit the impact that this kind of practices have in a local context. So we're going to analyze concepts such as dig where you stand, which is something that Owen has been practicing a lot in Wales. And in Swansea, where he's based, and together with the idea of take it to market, which is a concept that has been put forward by T-Pob. So like connecting these different realities and different way of approaching the, let's say, art and usership, it's going to be interesting to investigate with them through a workshop. And then in the afternoon, we are going to have another panel discussions together with you, John, me again, and Kubat Sreder, who is like a researcher and a curator that has been also part of many conversations with us, and the Manolo Callahan and Annie Paradise as part of the Center for Convivial Research and Autonomy, and hopefully other guests from the city of Liverpool that we are still, like working on. And then we are going to have the last session, hopefully the 19th of November. And for that, we are going to talk about, let's say, economy and how to reclaim economy as a social activity by the means of art. And this day, it's going to be, let's say, mainly moderated and organized by Poppy Bowers. And again, we are going to have a panel discussion in the morning and a workshop in the afternoon. And we are still with the Alternative School of Economics, which is like an art collective. So that's it's going to be like let's say the topic of the sessions. We'll see what is coming up from all these conversations and work.
It sounds great. I mean, it's going to be a really good opportunity for us to think through what we've begun to develop as a series of ideas, to distill those ideas in a context of discussion and question and inquiry with all of these people that you've invited, and to continue that conversation with the aim of developing some kind of almost kind of active questioning manifesto at the end of it, short term as a form of action research that will help us point towards the Economics the Blockbuster show that will hopefully be happening in the Whitworth sometime in 2023. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Before we go, could you just explain a little bit more as well about how those conversations which happen every week or fortnight will be developed in between times, and what will be actually available on the Decentralising Political Economies website as it goes along?
Sure. The idea it's really to use the possibility of the symposium to not just to document what is going to be said during the conversations and the Q&A session, but we asked all the panelists to send some presentations in advance in order to really create like a sort of also like channel or database of their project as are in like during the time that we are speaking about this topic. So on the website there is going to be all the short presentations of the panelists that will act like really like a sort of playlist that you can go back and look at them again. And then we are going to also add later on the conversations, of course. We are going to also add readings and other kind of materials that are going to, like come up during the conversations. And then, of course, between the sessions, hopefully, we will have time to gather some questions, like frequently asked questions or just questions or like issues or guests that are coming up from each discussions. And hopefully this would help us to like open up the possibility of new discussion, or like this manifesto that you mentioned earlier. So the page of the symposium is going to be on the toolkit sessions, and it's going to work as a little syllabus too. So in this way, I thought that as I was perhaps mentioning briefly earlier, if in 5 years' time someone is going to approach DPE and the toolkit session, it could have he or she could have the same experience of the symposium itself, but also the idea is really to enable usership of this kind of material in order also to disperse a little bit the practice in the context of education, which is, let's say, my main topic of research, but also in the context of whatever it could be, like as we have been discussing for very long, you cannot really stop usership somehow. So like the idea that I picture into myself is that it could be a nice resource in the context of education, but it could be used anyhow, I mean.
Great, great. It's going to be a really great opportunity to gather what we have, to sift through it, to glean some of the information out of it, that as Owen Griffiths might say, and then to kind of think of the next stage almost in an action research cycle. So we'll be in a position to develop what we think are some of the key questions that we need to take forward, and that will enable us, I guess, to begin to draw other people into the conversation and ask questions that take us forward towards economics the blockbuster. So, so Alessandra, thank you very much for that. That's great, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple of weeks of thinking and discussing and making and using, and then offering,
Yeah.
really, and then taking the next steps as well. So thank you very much for that. Thanks very much for your time, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you, John.
Yeah,
See you
bye.
soon. Bye.